This is Hannibal here from World Class Pro Wrestling, and this is the very first World Class Cast, which is the World Class Pro Wrestling podcast. And today, my co-host Jerry is the owner of World Class, and we have two wonderful guests. They are stars of MLW, and they were stars of World Class Pro Wrestling as well, from the legendary Von Erich family. The sons of Kevin Von Erich, all the way from Hawaii, Ross and Marshall Von Erich.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on the show, man.
We're happy to be here.
Big fans.
Big Hannibal fans. This is cool. This is really cool.
Big Jerry fans, too.
Oh, thanks.
You guys have quite a history.
Well, whenever we came up with the concept, he's like, man, we got to have a solid first guest. And I was like, man, there's only one group that could be our first guest. It had to be you guys,
Shoot, man. You're making me blush. I don't know if you can see.
I love that beard.
I know. I'm trying. The thing is, you got to get close to see that it's not see-through. Yeah, it just looks like I have a big chin, and unless you get really close, I guess.
So you're going for the jawline.
Man, it's good to see you guys, even via Streamcast. I think that's StreamYard. That's what this is. So great to see you guys.
It was easy to use. It was you just click and jump in and join studio, and we've been doing a podcast of our own. Guys like Hannibal TV, seeing what seeing wrestlers pretty much take advantage of everything they need to as wrestlers, marketing yourselves and merchandise and all that stuff. And he's one of the guys we're trying to follow their footsteps a little bit, start our own podcast.
It makes you appreciate all the work that goes into it, though. Also,
Absolutely. You guys go ahead and plug your podcast for everybody that's watching that doesn't know about it. How do they listen to it?
So we're on all podcast platforms. It's called the Iron Claw Cast. We want to change the name because it's so hard to say. The Iron Claw Cast.
I dare you to say it 5 times fast.
No way. No way. Some other stuff.
Yeah.
But we're on YouTube. We're on all podcast platforms. You can follow us on Twitter, the Iron Claw Cast, or our personal Twitters at Ross and Marshall Von Erich. And then at Instagram, we share one since we're so bad on social media. Just at Ross and Marshall.
Me too. It's such a blessing to come aboard and work with us because he's so good at it and I'm so bad at it. And so it's been amazing so far.
Yeah, somebody that can make up, where your weakness and you're strong where they're, aren't as strong. So.
And Hannibal TV is all over my feed. We're scrolling through YouTube, social media. It's Hannibal TV.
Yeah, the algorithms are onto us for sure.
Yeah,
exactly.
I've noticed the same exact thing on mine.
I was actually just watching one of your matches that I was going to post in the next coming days on the World Class YouTube channel as well as the Hannibal TV. And Psycho Sid was involved in it. What was it like working with him?
Dude, man, that was so awesome because
Jerry's laughing.
I know.
I love Sid.
We were just so excited to meet him and stuff. That dude's just like massive. He's huge, and it looks like just a big old country boy. And we're in the back, and it was kind of cool that we felt like he was kind of coming to us. Like he hung around us most of the time in the locker room. We thought that was really cool.
Yeah, we're like kind of starstruck a little bit, And the weird thing is he's kind of exactly how you think he would be.
Yeah.
Just on how he just does his own thing.
But part of me thought that he thought we were like our uncles and dad, because he was like, man, you guys always been good guys, and I know.
I don't think you guys ever told me that. That's great.
No, man. And then I did like a cannonball or something in the match, and he was he was laughing so hard after. He's like, that was the dumbest thing. I mean, it worked, but man, that was dumb. He thought, I guess he liked it, but he thought it was silly. He said it was kind of silly. But that's how I knew I was going to call it the Sid Bomb after that.
Man, I think oftentimes he gets a bad rap amongst people. He had that reputation for a while, like he no-shows people, yada, yada, yada. And we never had that experience with him, like he was always so good around all of us and so helpful. I mean, I think he was a great influence on the locker room. I think Sid is a great person. I can't say enough nice things about him.
Yeah, man. And it's scary. Wrestling world is small and stuff. And your reputation is, it's valuable in a way. But that's one thing we've noticed, especially from you, and booking maybe troublemakers or troublesome wrestlers. You give them that second chance, and Court Bauer's a lot like that too over at MLW. He gives guys second, third chances. Just he sees the best in people, and everybody's got a story. My dad said this one time, and it kind of just hit me differently, but he said everybody's got a book, and each person's life is a book. And if you meet them, you play a role in that book. And what role do you play? And so I'd like to think that I when I meet people, I want to try to play a baby face, not a freaking heel, in their story.
Well, I think, man, you guys, it's amazing how far you've come, since the first time we worked together to where you guys are at now. At first you guys hardly talked. Marshall, you talk way more than Ross to begin with, but you guys went from that to having your own podcast, which you have to talk all the time. I love it.
Yeah, man.
We mostly do voiceovers. We record the voices, and then we just lip sing the rest.
Oh man. Lip sync.
One thing about it though, I think whether it be a few words, whether it's a lot of words, whatever, it's the same thing I think that people saw whenever they saw your dad and his brothers. It's genuine. Whenever you guys talk, whatever's coming out of your mouth, you don't just mean it in wrestling, but you mean it in life. And the impact that you guys had on our locker room was tremendous. It's like we talked about tons of times. Wrestling is broken in a lot of ways, and a lot of ways that are real life. And you guys were always wonderful influences. One of my favorite stories, I was telling somebody about it today. I said, one time those guys stopped a murder. Remember in San Antonio?
Yeah, that's a crazy story.
I know.
Tell that story, because that's wild.
We'll remember that for the rest of our lives. And that was one of the first times we left a show early, which was usually you get a bad rep for that, but we literally were traveling all day. We landed in Dallas, got straight in a car, drove 3 or 4. Can y'all still hear me, Jerry?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So yeah, it was about 4 or 5 hours traveling from Dallas to San Antonio, and so we were just dog tired. We got there, the show was already started. We were the last match. We were second to last match, and so right after a match, I was like, man, I can barely keep my eyes open. Let's go. And so we're on our way back to the hotel, and as soon as we got up, we heard just a loud commotion. It sounded like somebody got two.
Oh, they cut out for a second.
In the middle of a great story. I mean,
we're saving a guy's life. So here they are back.
There they are.
Okay. Sorry, but yeah, we were pretty much. We just got to the hotels right after the show, and then we heard it sounded like someone got 2 2x4s and slapped them together, and it was we're just like.
And then we heard some voices, some yelling and stuff,
and everybody was running away from it and running away from the commotion. So we kind of walked over there. And we see 2 guys at each other's throats. It was a Mexican guy and a black guy. The Mexican guy had blood coming down his neck and stuff. And
Oh no. Somehow every time you go to tell the good part of the story, your sound cuts off.
Oh, here, should I put it on airplane mode and just Wi-Fi then? Because this is I
don't know. That's the Hannibal question.
Okay. And say stop calling.
Well, we can hear you fine now, but for some reason, it's always at the best part.
Okay.
Let's try to get this out.
So we get there was blood on this guy's neck. We watched him get stabbed in the neck, and then the black guy took off. The Mexican guy took off. Mexican guy went to go get somebody or whatever, and
they both go off and call people. They're calling people, and they're gonna meet up here at this hotel, which is right next to the one we're staying at.
We were in the lobby of that hotel, and we see the black dude would come in there, and he said this guy just tried to shoot me. He pulled a gun out and he shot at me, and we saw it happen. He didn't try to shoot him. He stabbed him. He was kind of lying, and so oh shoot, this guy's gonna get falsely accused or something. And so we're walking the hotel looking for that guy with a knife, because it's a short life. A lot of people think we're crazy for it, but you know,
we're even getting involved. But our motives were like, hey man, let's try to keep both these guys from doing something
stupid,
you know, that'll affect the rest of their life.
Yeah,
basically.
And so we saw this Mexican guy, and it's like a movie. He was on the 3rd floor, walking down the hallways, whistling the Kill Bill, that Kill Bill sound. It was like really weird, the scary stuff. And so he walks around the corner. He has blood, and he said, "You two look like good boys. You don't need to die today. I suggest you stay back." And I told him, I was like, "Buddy, we're not afraid to die, but you're too good for this." And we actually prayed with him right there, and we said, "You're too good for this. You're gonna waste your life over this guy right here. You're gonna spend the rest of your life in prison if you kill this guy." And he said, "I have my cousins and families are a block over, and they're all MS-13, and they're gonna shoot this place up. I know this guy's family staying here, all this stuff." So we calmed him down. Ross stayed with him. No, I stayed with him, and Ross walked off to go find the other guy to calm him down. Yeah,
the other guy, the black dude, his family was staying in the hotel, and they're all distraught and stuff. And I just go, "You guys just stay in here. Everything's gonna be okay. We're talking."
He found the guy, and then the guy said, "I'm worried about my family." So then Ross went over and calmed down, or talked to his family, said it was gonna be okay. And so then that dude, the black dude, did get a gun. We saw him get a gun out. We're like, "Don't do this. This is stupid." And you kind of see in his eyes that he had that like lost look, like, "I'm gonna do something stupid." You could tell in his eyes, like, they're like, he's gonna do something. He was real. And when we prayed with the Mexican guy, you saw that lost look too. But after we said amen, it was like almost like a cry for help. You saw that glazed look go away, like he's there for a second. So then cops pull up, and he's like, if I get arrested, I'm gonna go to prison. This guy stabbed me. Should I go and shoot him in front of the cops?" I'm like, hell no. We grabbed him. We threw him over a fence because he's bleeding pretty bad. We snuck him into our hotel room, put a tourniquet on his neck, tied it real tight. The cops came out. The cops were looking all over, and we hear the black guy talking to the cops, saying this guy shot at him and all this stuff. And the cops believed him, and so we're like, "Oh shoot, this guy's gonna get in a lot of trouble." And the cops walk up to us and asked us, did you see what happened?" And what we saw was the guy jump over a fence. And so I was like, "Yeah, he ran that way and jumped over the fence." It probably messed up when we lied to them.
Yeah, we didn't say he went over the fence, then proceeded to go in.
And he's in room 302 in my hotel room, you know. But no, it was pretty trippy. But we went in there with that guy, and to us, that's what wrestling's about. We tried seeking, you know, getting as famous as possible and getting as big as possible, but it's about the relationships. And you know, there's a lot of broken hearts in wrestling right now, and we know that God kind of brought us to that point to see that guy at that exact time, to leave the show early and be there right then. We're sitting with that guy.
Well, that's what he told us. You guys,
because man, that's very uncharacteristic that you guys would leave that show early. You know, another interesting part of that, and it didn't even dawn on me until you started telling the story again. You guys weren't even supposed to stay at that hotel. This is really wild. So,
like, thing was
in San Antonio, we had an issue with Priceline overbooking the hotel we were supposed to stay in. So you guys were never even supposed to be where you were at. We were supposed to be somewhere else. I never even thought about it until just now.
In a way, it was exactly where we were supposed to be. You know,
it's crazy how that worked out. You know,
and so the guy was sitting in our room, and he was just flabbergasted at what just happened and why we were helping him and stuff. And he's like,
finally got him calmed down.
He was like, "I don't know why I'm here." And it was just, since we prayed, you know, I don't remember, I don't know, the words were just coming to me, but it was kind of trippy. It was just like, we're telling them that you're going to be, you might have a job where you talk to kids that are in your position right now. You've experienced all this crazy life. You've probably had a screwed up upbringing, but he's like, you're going to have a life where you encourage people, that maybe you're going to be a mentor or a speaker or something. And we're just encouraging him. I was like, I don't know if you had a dad, but there's a God up there that loves you. And he put us in your lives today, right now, to tell you that. And he just started bawling, like crying so hard.
I still have that blue shirt I was wearing. Yeah. It's still covered in blood to this day.
He hasn't washed it. It's a blue shirt with blood on it. And we want to frame it one day.
Actually, I tried washing it. The blood doesn't.
Oh, you did wash it? There was a memory.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah.
And that's just, to me, it's like, that doesn't even tell the story of all of the wonderful things you guys did for people all along just our journey together. You know, it was great seeing you guys come in at first and seeing you be just wrestlers. Then at a certain point, not too far along in that journey, it became family. And it was weird because like so many of us in that group were like a family, and you guys became locker room leaders amongst all of that. And from what you said the other day, you guys carried it on to MLW, and that's amazing. It's amazing.
And that trips us out. We started off at world class, kind of like flies on the wall. We were just absorbing. There was these big names over there. There's like guys like Sting, Steiner, and MVP, Chavo. These guys, Jim Cornette, guys we like really like looked up to and stuff. And our first match was, we were green as snot. We were really they were patient with us, and after that first match, it was pretty. Not discouraging, but I was like, man, is this what we're supposed to be doing? Are we just embarrassing the family, or should we be wrestling? Is this what we should be doing? And there's a lot of questions and stuff. And that car ride home was a long car ride home. It was literally a long car. It's like 3 hours, but also it felt longer than that. And
Figuratively too.
We got home, and then Jerry called us a few days later, or you called us a few days later, and you said, hey, I feel terrible at how that went, and I want you guys to do a tour of Texas with the Von Erichs. I think it was one of the first times World Class did a tour in Texas or whatever. And so that meant a lot to us because we've never been main event. We were young boys in Japan. And before that, mid-card guys, and then for us to be main event anywhere just meant so much, like rocked us. And so that's when we saw that, we saw a lot of hope, or people saw something in us. And so it made us believe in ourselves too, a little more, like maybe this is where we're supposed to be. And we tried just to match the level that we were, the main event level. And it spoke so much to us, but almost took the pressure off looking at wrestling more like almost like a ministry. There's a lot of kids, heartbroken kids without dads, because I wanted to have kids really bad for a long time. And as soon as I got married, I wanted to have kids, and doctors told me I would have a 1 out of 8 chance to have kids, and it messed me up pretty bad. And that was when I was in World Class, and when I realized that there was a lot of fatherless kids at these shows, just hanging out by the autograph table, saying like this, like kind of just like magnets that were stuck to us. And you start loving on them, hugging them, joking with them and stuff. That's what really made me like personally and Ross fall in love with wrestling. We loved it because our uncles did it, but that's when it was almost like I started loving wrestling too. I saw like the people that wrestling brings.
Yeah.
And it's temporary peace, for that 30 minutes, that hour, 2 hour long show, you forget about, your boss has to talk to you tomorrow. You're going to get fired tomorrow. Whatever is going on in your life, your wife's leaving you. It temporarily goes away. We've had friends come to shows, and my wife said she's going to leave me if I show up at this show, but I'm just going to forget about it for 2 hours. And we're just like, shoot, man.
You can worry about it after the show.
I know.
You remember one thing that we used to say whenever we would go out there, we'd be like, pay attention to the people that come. Like, look at them, and you'll see the ones that need your help. Oftentimes it's on their face, or it's in the words they say to you. And, it wasn't just us, but how many other people on that roster caught people that looked like they needed help. I mean, it was like for that period of time, man, like we were all just running around helping people. It was wild. It was great.
Gary, you kind of set the tone. You're like a people person, and you're not the cookie cutter promoter like that. All the other wrestlers, like, don't trust any promoter, and they're all in it for whatever, and just you really are just this guy loves people, and he like made that a focal point, and we're like, man, that's the way to be.
He'll put people before him, even if it puts them in a bad way, and that's like. I get like worldly wise, they would say we were like I guess not
naive.
busy, naive, but relationships are important, and they can come back to you either to haunt you or to benefit you later in life. But we made a lot of good relationships through wrestling, and to me, if I died tomorrow, it was all worth it, every bit of it. Just where our careers have been. Career-wise, I didn't really have any crazy expectations. And I knew that we were going to do something as kids together. We knew we were doing something together, knowing what it was. I knew my biggest fear.
Oh, you're freezing. There's something that's happening. I don't know if you guys could hear me, but you're freezing up again.
Oh, shoot, okay.
It's a great frozen picture, though.
Yeah, it is.
What is it?
Is it as a great frozen?
Oh,
picture?
sick. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, it was great.
It's starting to move again a little bit now, but Maybe I'll just pop you guys out and in and see if that makes a difference.
Yeah, it's a Hawaii Wi-Fi.
The Hawaii Wi-Fi. You know what though? I mean, even if it's the Hawaii Wi-Fi, you guys live in definitely the most beautiful part of Hawaii. You know, whenever I went out there with you guys and we went to, where did we go outside of there? We went to Oahu, right? Is that where else we went?
We went to Oahu for a few days, right?
That had nothing on Kauai.
Oh yeah,
That was like, that's like the New York of Hawaii.
Yeah, or like a mini Japan. It's like there's a lot of Japanese over there. That's why we also wanted to start wrestling over there, because we did one show and it was like
It reminded us so much of Japan.
Yeah,
That's crazy. So many spots.
the crowd was like super hot and stuff. But
Are they still doing good over there? Is that still a thing?
It's a new
It's a new promotion now. They're running shows, I think, once a month. I don't know if they still are, but
it's Oos Wrestling.
yeah, they're off and on, I think.
How's Chris doing? You guys still keep up with Chris?
Yeah, man, he's our sparring partner. The reason we saw something in him, he had the MMA background and then 10 years of acting, and he just loved wrestling, knew everything about every part of wrestling, and wanted to learn. I'm sure he's called you and to get advice and stuff, but yeah, he just had a show in Alaska. He's been wrestling monthly over at Oos, and he's just doing what he can in Hawaii to become a professional wrestler, to live that dream. It's a little harder over here with there not being as much wrestling, but I'm definitely encouraged to see that he's trying to make it work and doing it. Yeah.
I think that was one thing, like when you guys first came over, and you were disappointed in the match. Like I understood, like you guys didn't have anywhere to work over there. You didn't have, other than outside in your yard or on the beach or whatever, you didn't have like a ring to practice in. And I've always been a firm believer that wrestling is a connection between you and the people that watch it. And you don't have to be the world's best worker to get over. They have to believe in what you're selling to them. And when you're being genuine, and that's how you are in real life, it's an easy sell because you're just being yourself. And I think that, in a lot of ways, it never really mattered the match that you had, because you had this genuine attachment to people and they had it to you. And so that worked, and I think that works on any platform, whether it be WWE, MLW, world class, whatever. I think wrestling is an emotional attachment to a character. And, and you guys had that part down from day one. I think you got more comfortable as time went along with who you were, but you had that part since the first day.
And that's encouraging.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. That's true. We have these fans. Some of them are just so loyal. And at the very beginning of our career, we're kind of just like, I don't know if we were just, you just don't get it for a while. Like it doesn't click. Things don't really register. But like you're saying, we really did, have this connection with the fans, and we really did love them, and it slowly but surely, it's like coming out, and it has come out.
Because, in the beginning of your career, you're so like fragile and insecure, kind of. We're third generation wrestlers, and we just don't want to embarrass our family, to be honest. We just don't want to go out there and be a complete failure. And for these people to believe in us, even though we know we're green, we couldn't stand watching any of our matches for the first like 2 or 3 years, and then but for those people to still believe in you and to come back and to keep watching you and keep cheering for you, it was just like, should we owe it to all these people? And
we at least owe them our best. Let's at least give them 100%, and just totally commit.
And it was at World Class where we finally went all in and started believing it. And like I noticed, I was like, okay, I'm not invested. I can see my face, and I'm not fully committing. And then it was one of our first times main eventing for you, and I was coming back, and I got like I was doing my comeback, and I started getting choked up while I was screaming and clotheslining, and I was like, I think I'm invested now. Like I got tears in my eyes. I was like, okay. I was like, I'm doing what I love right now.
Well, I think that, like you said, sometimes it doesn't come at first, but the important thing is that it does come, and it did with you guys. You went on, and I think a lot of it too, it wasn't the easiest locker room to come in when you see all of those people that were in it.
Right.
That's not exactly the easiest way to get thrown into something. Like, hey, by the way, here's all of these WWE stars, and here's Jim Ross that's going to be watching you, and Jim Cornette.
then getting chewed out by him after we got chewed out by Chavo and MVP, and they chewed us out like, you're brothers, what the hell? But it was stuff that we took with us for the rest of our careers. Like,
yeah, like it was like the worst thing ever as it was happening, but it was also the best thing ever because we kind of remembered. It was like scarred into us, you know.
Embarrassment's a great teacher.
It really is, yeah, totally.
If you get embarrassed one time, you won't do it again.
Especially by somebody you really respect.
And when Chavo said, when he told us, that's your brother out there. What are you going to do if you see your brother getting jumped by two guys? What are you going to sit there and watch? And I was like, hell no, I'm not going to sit there and watch. He's like, it's a fight. And it just clicked when he said that. I was like, it's a fight. That's my brother. A referee better get out of my way or I'm going to throw him out of my way. You know, and it changed it for us.
Did Chavo visit with you guys this week?
Yeah, he just came. Yeah, he was just on Kauai.
Yeah, I talked to him a couple of days ago, and he's like, I'm here, but you're not. And I was like, well, you didn't tell me you were going this time.
Yeah, no, why is that not a yearly thing? That was
stuck
so
over.
We need to put that down on our calendars and make it a yearly thing.
Should, yeah.
Yeah. And we got to bring Hannibal TV with you this time, man.
Oh, man, I'm sure he would love Kauai. Who wouldn't?
I've actually seen the videos of your adventures there, and it looks pretty cool. I also saw the video of you guys visiting the Sportatorium grounds after it was torn down. But there's a fan on here, Dan, that wants to know if you ever went there when you were younger, and I don't think you did.
No, we've driven past it and things like that. But did you
Yeah,
ever go
when I was a young kid, I walked around the building, but at that time it was all boarded up, you know, and so
that's why it was such a special moment that MLW got that on, you know, on TV. That was the first time all three of us were there together.
Yeah, all three of us, yeah.
And then I wish they would have put everything that was said in there because my dad, he talked for a minute and it was like some powerful stuff. My dad doesn't get choked up and like cry easily, but yeah, he started talking about, you know, what all this blood and sweat and tears and the heartaches, the broken hearts, the times of joy, everything shared in that.
Yeah, and he was standing in the spot like this is where the ring would have been, and he was, you know, as he was telling us these things, and it's just
we saved a rock. We all picked up rocks, and MLW got that. We all picked up rocks to stone of remembrance to remember that day forever. But my dream is to one day, when when all of us here are billionaires, we're going to rebuild the Sportatorium.
Yeah. You know what's wild is I actually called the people that bought it. I guess it was either early this week or late last week, and wanted to talk to them, and then they never returned my call. I looked it up and I was like, I wonder what they want for that.
You know? I know.
So somebody did buy it.
Yeah, a development group bought it. I guess sometime last year, and to my knowledge, they've done nothing with it. And,
yeah, people in Texas wanted to make it a historical like landmark, and
I mean, it should have been.
That'd have been awesome.
You know, I don't think the younger people probably understand just how big World Class was. You know, World Class was instrumental in so many of the developments that you see in wrestling today, miking the ring, the camera work, just the way it was filmed in general. You know, back at that time, nobody had seen anything like that. I think your grandfather was the first people to do international television. I mean, there were so many landmarks that World Class was the first to do.
Yeah, you know, that's what was trippy to us is, you know, my grandpa, when he hired a team to kind of help him, it's kind of when things kind of blew up, and they were sending their channel to the Jordan channel, and that's why our name got so, our dad at least got really big in Israel. It was the first time that their TV ratings were 100%, and so it was after Shabbat they would turn their TVs on and watch all that was on TV was that one channel was wrestling. And so my dad said he flew to Israel and it was the first time he got weak in the knees from just a crowd, a sea of people. And he said it was he's like, I'll never forget that. You know, I was in the Middle East and people knew my name. That's when I realized it was bigger than I thought.
Yeah, you know, wrestling itself, the fact that you can, you know, expand and transcend wrestling, and then you see Arabs and Jews, you know, cheering and putting their arms around each other at the show when they're, you know, it's crazy. It just can bring people together, and that's what, you know, we see wrestling as. You know, we just want to heal people and, you know, shine light and just encourage people
and get healed, man. It's the fans do just as much for us.
Oh, totally.
And anything we can offer, you know, it's you know, they're like the highlight of any of our trips, you know, just hanging out.
We need them totally, big time.
Weren't you guys in Israel as well? I seem to recall seeing something. How was that
Yeah.
experience?
Yes.
Dude, it was so cool. It was 2017. It's actually when we were the world class tag team champs. So we brought those belts over there and defended them. But it was my dad's retirement match, and it was one of the most special. It went in slow motion. It felt like because we were in the ring with my dad, and they got this huge basketball stadium or whatever. And I don't know how well it was promoted, but a lot of people showed up, and there was the #1 sports channel was there, and it was crazy to see how much respect, because every boy, if you have a good relationship with your dad, it's you love to see people love your dad, and that's why we also have so much respect for people that don't have a good relationship with their dad, because they're trying to be a good man, and having a role model just helps so much, and that's why we got a lot of admiration and respect for people that they can do without. But we got there, and these guys, anytime my dad would talk, they would just like look look deep into his eyes and just grin. They were so happy he was there. And then when the match started, the people were just so filled with joy. We saw Arabs and Jews with their arms around each other, like cheering and stuff and hugging when my dad would get in the ring. And it was like an emotional moment. And it was the first time my nieces and nephews got to watch us wrestle. And all 21 of us, our entire family was there in the front row. And it was like, I couldn't even look at them. I'd get like I was like, oh shoot, that's my family. This is crazy. And my dad was there. My dad was sitting there, and he's like, drop toe hold, snap mare. He's like telling me move for move, and it was like so fun.
Yeah,
awesome.
and we'd tag each other out, and then my dad would be in there, and we'd be talking, but it wasn't work. It wasn't a work. He was literally giving us advice.
Yeah.
Hey, next time you go in there, boom, 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 do this, that. It's exactly what you think he would be saying to us in the match, and just
we hit the triple claw, dude. That was I looked over and Ross had the claw. I had the claw, and then my dad finally sticks his. It was so cool in the place. It felt like there was 100,000 people in there at the time. It blew up, and then afterwards we got in the back, and there was like no words would come. It was just laughing and kind of choked up.
One of my favorite pictures of that trip was the three of you whenever you all had your arms around each other, and it looked like, I guess you were probably praying. And
right before we're going out.
That's one of my favorite pics of the three of you. And it was so humbling to watch that, to see you guys take the championships over there and defend them like that. And I know it was a special moment for you guys for sure, but it was to me and probably everybody else that watched it. There's something about connecting the dots, and working that match with your dad, is connecting that dot. And it's something that we'll probably never see again, but it was something that you guys and your dad gave people that meant a lot, not just in wrestling, but meant a lot to them personally in their heart. And that was amazing in itself. Another thing that comes to mind too, what was it like when you guys teamed with the Iceman?
Oh man, that was
another
or I guess just start from the moment when you guys met him all the way to whenever he teamed with you. I don't know if you guys know this part of it, but he really didn't even know he was wrestling until that night before. Yeah, and me and Justin Robertson came up with it, and I can't remember exactly how it came up. Something happened, and I was like, man, what are we going to do tomorrow? And he's like, what's got to be done. And I'm like, what? He's like, Iceman's got a team with him. And I was like, well, are you going to go tell him? He's like, no, you're going to go tell him. So I go over there, and I'm like, hey, man, I need a favor tomorrow. And he's like, what do you need? I told him, he's like, what? Work? I was like, all you got to do is take the hot tag, and you'll do your thing, and that'll be that. Just be safe. What happens that next night? He was in the ring. Y'all tagged him in like the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, he wanted
he was
it,
begging for that tag. What are you gonna do?
He's like, tag me now. I was like, oh man, let's not give him their cookies yet.
Yeah,
he was like, give it. He wanted it. But man, it was awesome. I was a little stressed out though, because you care about him so much. You don't want him to get to break something or whatever. But he stayed in one piece. He did a good job, and it was cool to see his son-in-law didn't realize what a big of a deal he was until we started doing shows and stuff. And that was pretty cool to see that relationship. You see how much respect he had for his father-in-law after that, after seeing the kind of response he got. Iceman he's the Iceman. My dad loves that guy so much. When they see each other, they both can't hear. And so they're like really hard and hugging and what? They
don't actually get anywhere in the conversation. Just smiles and hugs mostly.
Just an hour long of greetings.
You know, it was wild how it came full circle from that first time you guys teamed to the North Texas show. You know, like to me, the North Texas show was probably one of my favorite just because of the meaning of it all and the way it was set up. It was amazing.
That was the most fun we've ever had in a wrestling ring. And we were talking about this the other day. You could see in our faces that we were genuinely having fun. Ross's like high school football coaches were there. My middle school coaches were there. My hockey coach was there.
Yeah, a bunch of my teachers. Like, this is our hometown, so this is
childhood friends.
Exactly what you think. Like, you know, when you're a kid and you imagine, like, okay, we're wrestling, and like all my friends are there. You know, my coaches are there.
My third grade crush was there.
Yeah, you know, all that stuff, and it was actually really happening. And you know, we watched the match. Like, man, we were having fun because we were.
Yeah.
And yeah, Jerry, I mean, you made it all happen.
Yeah.
And that was like one of the biggest moments in our career. And then Lacey,
it was a group effort for sure. You know, I mean, Ren Baker, we got to thank Ren for making that happen. Jim Ross had a big hand in making that happen. You know.
Yeah.
Little Jerry was just there to put the pieces together.
I pointed right at my grade crush right in her face, and I was like, "Who's a loser now?" And then I walked off and tripped. Basically, curb stomped my face into the guardrail, but it's all good though. She still saw it happen. So
there's a few fans on here that have wanted to know if you saw the dark side of the ring on your family. I think your father was involved in it. I haven't seen it, but I'm just bringing it up because a bunch of the fans have wanted to hear your opinion.
Yeah, man. So they actually came out here to film that, and we were there on set the whole time helping with Dad. You know, because we're basically his translator. He can't hear very well. And so we were there on set the whole time. It was Jason and Evan, great guys. And what I feel like they pulled they struck a different chord with my dad because they were genuinely wrestling fans and they cared and actually knew. And so they weren't just like some producers they sent out here. They were actual like genuine wrestling fans. Who loved the old stuff. And so they knew a lot about the family already. And so they're just asking all the right questions and watching the one that hit me is when my dad told the gun story when all his brothers were gone and walked into that gun store, and he said he didn't want to kill himself because he knew that the enemy wins. He said I didn't know what it was at the time. I was still searching, but something wanted me dead, and he took everybody I loved, and everybody I loved was gone. And he's like, so I didn't want to kill myself because I thought that was the easy way out.
But at the same time, he didn't want to live anymore.
Yeah, he didn't want to live. So he said he wanted to go to prison and fight. He wanted to do something where just make his life miserable,
like punish himself in a way.
And so it was just it was trippy. And then he put a shotgun in his pant leg, and he said he stiff-legged out of there and looked back at all these old country Texas men and he just looked at him with a mad look on his face, and the gun owner or the owner of the store said, "Love you, Kev." And he said that he just nodded his head and walked out, and it just broke him, rocked him.
Yeah, and you know, and all these people in Texas, they knew his whole story, and they were hurting with him, and they were just looking at him like, man, this guy's been through so much grief, and he's just trying to make sense of it all, you know, in his human mind, and you know, this is how he's dealing with it, you know. And then he walked back in, returned the gun, and like, you know, thank you guys.
Every step he took was under a microscope. It's under cameras, and we're no way saying the Von Erichs are perfect or whatever. And that's what we know what we come from. We come from a pretty crazy story: suicides, drugs, all that stuff. But you know, that's why we hold each other accountable and stay close to each other, check up on each other. Man, I love you. You feeling good? You're positive. How's your head? How's your heart? You know, and we check up on each other because, yeah, we are Von Erichs and we're overthinkers. You can get hard on yourself. You can get, you know, whatever it is. It's hard not to over critique yourself. And so that's why having a brother helps you take life lightly and make a joke of the moment. And a good example of that, we're on this plane going to Florida one time, and our plane almost crashed. It was crazy.
Almost crashed.
Yeah, well, it got struck by lightning, lights went out, and it took a nosedive.
We were like, it was pitch black in the airplane, and we were like free falling for like what it felt like 10 seconds. It was probably 5 seconds. Yeah.
But Ross was in the row behind me, and it was like okay, I'm legit about to die right now. I knew it was about to happen, and my life was flashing before my eyes. But I got this like peace. It was crazy. So I was like, man, am I going to say I believe in God, or am I actually going to live it? And so I look back at Ross, and everybody screaming, has terrified looks on their faces. And I look at Ross and he looks at me, and I don't know if it was like a panic thing, but I was like,
yeah,
yeah, like, we're about to die, dude. And then the lights came back on, but it was good to see. I was like, okay, dude, we were at peace if anything ever did happen, you know.
Yeah, that proves we're not afraid of dying.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's important to note, like, you guys, you know, when people think of the family name, a lot of times, like, they do think of the tragedy part of it, but you know, it's important that they know the redemption part of it too. You know, your dad is doing really well. You know, he's in a good place. And I think it's important that people know, I say all the time whenever I talk about you guys to people, that it's important that they know what kind of people you guys are. You guys don't live that life. You know, you live a very good life. You are everything that you're advertised to be. And you guys don't come out and necessarily say it, but I think it's important that people know that. Because it is true. What you guys live and how you come across, it's true. It's all true. And, you know,
I appreciate that.
I appreciate that too. That means a lot. That means a lot. And you know, it's hard to complain, man. I get to travel the world with my brother, and we get to do what we thought the coolest thing in the world was, which was professional wrestling. Our dad and uncles could have been trash men, and that's probably what I would have been, you know.
But now my dad is living like vicariously through us, and he's like, yeah. And he says it's just like having his brothers, like here, because we get home and we all talk about the road stories or whatever when we get back, and
my dad's there,
and he says like it's just like having my brother's back,
and we're going to all the places he's been, and when we're in the middle of Japan, 3 months in, and going to these like tiny towns in the middle of nowhere. Knowing that my dad's been there, my grandfather's been there, it just makes you feel like I'm in the right place right now. This is where the ones before me have come.
Yeah, it's oddly comfortable in a way, because you're just like this. I know this is what I'm meant to do. Like we're doing it, and you know the story's not over yet. You know, who knows what's in the future.
We feel like this is like an 80 chapter book, and we're like in chapter 20 or 30 or whatever, you know. And so there's a lot more of the ride left. Even though wrestling is a fast horse for a short ride, you know, things can come from wrestling. We'll see, but right now our bodies feel great. We're healthy. We're really happy right now, and who knows? I feel like we got a lot more years under our belts, and wrestling is the only thing, like the only like sport, I guess, that where the older you get, the better it is almost, you know. It's just the better you get with crowds. And I mean, if you take care of yourself, of course, you know, if you're beating yourself up and, you know, unnecessarily and not taking care of your body, I can definitely see how that would take years off. But, you know, it's enjoyable. You know, we're trying to enjoy it the best we can.
Before I forget, you guys watching out there, you can check out the Von Erichs. I think it's every Saturday at noon on Vice. I know it's on YouTube too. MLW is on YouTube, and you can also catch all their classic matches on our YouTube here. And have you guys actually started working again? I don't know if MLW started or not.
We went back a few months ago in Florida. We did
July 10th is our next show. On Vice we're going to be shooting new content. Yeah,
where's that show? Is it in Florida too?
No, it'll be in Philly at the 2300 Arena.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Don't go there and get all hardcore on me and stuff.
I did, man. I pulled up, I had a barbed wire jacket, baseball bat.
You're never going to be the same. You're going to show up like that, and then out pops Sabu, and he's like, "Come on, Von Erichs, let's go." What are you going to do in that situation?
I know. I feel like Sabu like lives there, and Sid Vicious is like, it's just gonna pop around the corner. It's just like
that's what it feels
he's like the house cleaner or something of 2300. You guys are gonna show up, and he's just gonna be ready with a bunch of chairs.
You sing a Sandman song is gonna come on. And that was sick. That came on, and the crowd got behind it. I would listen to that before I got in like high school fights and stuff. I'd play Sandman in the truck.
I mean, I remember when you first discovered ECW when we were kids.
Yeah,
we were like, it was pretty dangerous because we were like throwing each other off the roof, and we almost became, I guess. It would have,
So, what kind of wrestling did you guys watch growing up? That's a good thing to bring up, because I don't even know that we've ever talked about that. What did y'all grow up watching?
Well, of course, we watched World Class like as younger kids.
We were like raised basically on that, you know, because when I was young, I'd go to the shows, and then my dad always had the tapes. I used to love watching like tag team matches, and then me and my brother would be like wrestling with pillows, and you know, this is us like 5, 6 years old.
But then we stole that VHS from Jonathan and Jordan, our friends. It was a WWE. It was hardcore. It was about something hardcore. Steve Austin. I forget.
It was like it was one of the Steve Austin like tapes that had a bunch of his highlights from like the Attitude Era,
and we were sucked in right there.
Like,
we instantly we were, but we had to sneak it though, because my dad, we were watching it on TV, and my dad was cool with it, and then we were like, you know, really young, and some chick walked out there with a bikini with just handprints on her boobs, and so it was like wasn't really a bikini, and he's my dad was like, if your mom sees this, and my mom walks in and turns it off or whatever. So after that, we had to start sneaking it or watching it at friends' houses and stuff. And then I remember like after a year of it, my dad knew we were watching it, and we were so invested. He said, you guys like this stuff? And we're like, we love it. It's the coolest thing ever. And he said, well, they're in Dallas right now. You want to go to their show tonight? And we couldn't believe it. And we thought, like, my dad was an older wrestler. We didn't know any wrestler.
We're like, Dad, they're not going to know you. I mean, these guys are you know, like, come on.
He's like, well, you'll see. And we get there, and freaking Undertaker walks up, and he's like, Kevin, like, hugs him. And it was just crazy to see how much respect he had for him. And then Steve Austin, the same thing. But I was tripping out because I just watched Undertaker, like, hang Boss Man the week before. I watched Boss Man get hung. Undertaker hung him. It was like some crazy match, and I was like, and I saw Boss Man walking by, and I was like, he killed somebody. He's supposed to be dead. And my dad didn't smart it up yet.
He never did. Yeah,
actually never did. We had to find out.
Oh, that's great, man. That's great. You know, I think, man, it's been an amazing part to be a small part of you guys' journey, and to see where you guys are going, and no telling where you're headed. I mean, you guys got like what are some dream matches you guys got that you haven't had yet?
Oh man, shoot, man. There's with current talent right now, not like dream out of
either or both.
Of course we would love to. We would have loved to actually work in world class and just, you know, get to, of course, hang out with the uncles and stuff, and meet some of the boys in there. Just from the stories my dad has. I don't know if I would like be excited to meet Terry Gordy or terrified. My dad said that one time he bought a car and it didn't work, and he drove it through the building and broke all the glass. And he said he got the guy, or the car dealer threw him down and like peed on him or something. It was a crazy story. I guess made him give his money back. It was a crazy story, but I was like, man, like back then those guys were just made of something else, you know. They were, and they were upholding their image, you know, and they walked around town like that, and they were expected to behave like the Freebirds, you know. So
yeah, but you know, it's amazing. Like, can you imagine really living in that era of kayfabe where you had to uphold that image all the time? I mean, that was kind of crazy, you know.
It was, yeah. Taking different cars, not being able to be around each other. I know that would be it. If they would have had internet, though, there'd have been a lot of. It would have been really hard. You'd know too much about your heroes and stuff. You
know, Eric Embry told me the other day, we were catching up, and he's like, Jerry, he goes, there's no way if there would have been social media in the 80s, we'd all been in jail for something.
Yeah.
It's like unavoidable back then. It seemed like
that cancel culture crap would be going off right now.
Everybody be getting canceled.
You know, it's amazing to me, just that whole, you brought it up, that whole cancer culture thing in general. Like, you know, to me, none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. How can you punish anybody to the point of no return? And what happens when you do punish somebody to the point of no return? You know, what happens if that person runs off and harms themselves or whatever? You know, like, you've played a part in that for passing judgment on them and sending them there. You know, I think at some point this cancel culture has to stop. And, you know, ultimately one day we all answer to God for whatever we've done in our lives. And God can be the judge of it. But in my opinion, for what it is, you know, I don't think that any of us have the right to be passing judgment on people and condemning them and whatnot. You know, I think it's such an unhealthy culture.
Totally. And some people, this is like their only source of income or how they get bookings, you know, and then you say this guy said something stupid 20 years ago. Now, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, we've all said stupid things, and it's just like, I mean, if everyone was under that microscope, I don't see how anyone is.
I'm sure it started off with like a legitimate reason.
Yeah, it was based in truth, I think, and there were legitimate ones, and then now it just
it got petty real fast, you know, because a couple of, you know, like a few of those things were really true, and those people probably should not be allowed back into wrestling, but you don't have to condemn them in life in general. You know?
Yeah.
In my opinion, whenever people do stuff like that, they need help. There's a reason why they did it in the first place, and mercy it's probably a lot deeper than a wrestling match.
Yeah, dude. And you know, showing somebody mercy when they don't deserve it. In my case, that happened to me one time where I didn't deserve mercy and I got it. That just changed it, or just changed my life. It
works like a hell of a lot better than when somebody's just telling you how rotten you are, or how like you know you're an idiot or whatever. It's just
you're just repeating my conscience. Yeah, everybody feels bad about themselves. You know, everybody's not meeting their impossible expectations in their head
of themselves.
Yeah, of themselves. You know, we put these crazy expectations on ourselves, and mercy goes a long way. Mercy goes a long way.
You're right.
Like a wrestler, psychiatrist. Don't take any of this stuff, guys.
Do you guys have a favorite match of your father's?
Yeah, I do. It was a singles match. My personal favorite was him and Chris Adams. When Chris Adams, I guess, he was just turning heel, and he hit my dad with a chair from behind, and it was a cool angle, but it was I think it was a Texas Stadium, right, or Cotton Bowl.
Maybe like Will Rogers, or I'm not sure. It was a big stadium.
It was a big stadium, but he hit him in the back of the chair. And Chris Adams at that time was he was this British baby face. People loved him, but when he turned, they hated him. And it was crazy. They got a shot of like the girls in the crowd, and they were just like bawl crying, like screaming. I thought my dad was like dead or whatever. But that was one of my favorite angles because they were killing each other. They were.
And then the next week after that. Was probably my favorite match when Dad got revenge, on Chris Adams, and then used the chair on him.
If you watch those matches, though, they are so snug. My dad broke his cheekbone. Chris Adams dislocated his jaws, broken noses. Like they were killing each other. It was crazy. They sure were.
Have you guys ever heard the story about Chris Adams super kicking the guy's eye out of socket in Israel?
Yeah, it was in Israel. Was it at a bar or was it
go ahead. Yeah, retell that one if you would.
I don't know all the details to it. I was just wondering if you guys had heard it. I was talking to one of my friends the other day, and he brought it up. He was actually close to Chris, and he said it was true. Because I'd heard it originally. I think it was Missy Hyatt had told me for the first time, and I was like, "What? Yeah. Like he super kicked his eye out of socket?" I guess was your dad? He had to have been there for that, right?
No, so David Manning was on our podcast a few weeks ago, and I believe he talked about it. And then they had to sneak him out of the country like right then because they said there was about to be like a huge uproar. They had to sneak him out of the country and fly him back to the States because wasn't it a flight attendant? Too?
I know he headbutted a flight attendant like multiple times, and it was just blood fest everywhere. And my dad and it was I think it was like a 14-hour flight, and my dad was like working on kind of like smoothing things out before I think he almost even tried to change clothes so he could be.
My dad put on his bloody shirt because he loved Chris. My dad's always got a soft place for troublemakers, I guess, but Chris was when he would drink, he said he would change. My dad said you'd see his eyes change.
Just a different person. Not him. He said it wasn't him.
Yeah, and he said it wasn't Chris Adams, and so when he'd drink, he was just a different.
He's like, I'll put on the shirt, and then when I have to deal with people, I'll be the rational one, and I'm not going to be, violent or whatever. Chris Adams was.
I was like, did it work when you changed shirts? And he's like, no, not at all.
No, they're like, that guy just put on that guy's shirt. Yeah.
That's wearing a bloody shirt, obviously.
As far as I can recall, I think Chris Adams was the originator of the super kick, as far as I can recall, anyways.
Yeah.
And it's amazing just how big that move has gotten over the years.
It's been killed actually over the years.
I mean, I wasn't going to say it, but whenever there's a super kick counter, something's wrong.
Yeah. Now you see you're surprised if you don't see a few super kicks in a match nowadays.
Marshall,
I
you mentioned that you were in some high school fights. Did you have to defend yourself much with your dad being a famous wrestler, or get bullied at all when you guys were younger?
And
Yeah,
did you ever put the iron claw on somebody in a real fight?
No, we still have we still want that to be. We not want it to happen, but if it ever happens, I see like a knocked out dude sitting there that deserved it, I'm gonna claw him. But you know, yeah, high school fights. A lot of the time, Ross would, if older kids would try to fight me, Ross usually took care of my bullies and stuff. But as far as getting bullied, like with kids my own age, not that much. We were boys, country boys. So we got a lot of scuffles and stuff. But
I remember growing up as a kid, I would. Like I didn't talk much, but I got in fights like you wouldn't believe. I was like every other week. I would like my dad saved a bunch of these notes, and one of them was like for me in second grade. He came Ross came into Miss Harper's class and threatening all the boys that he was going to kick the crap out of all of them. Or, something like that. Because these kids they were stomping this snake. And I was like, no, let him live. And I was like throwing kids everywhere or whatever. And then recess was over, and then I go into their class and say that, and I got expelled for like.
My dad was so proud though. He's like, took us to Chuck E. Cheese. I took him to Chuck E. Cheese, and it was my dad. My dad's not.
Yeah, he said if you're in the right, he's gonna. You usually got a reward. So yeah. I didn't care too much about getting kicked out. Or
he's like, if you get a fight in a school, if you get a fight at school and you're defending somebody, a weak person, or beating up a bully, you will not get in trouble. You are. I give you 100%. You're allowed to punch him, and so we had that comfort at school, knowing if we see someone getting bullied, we're allowed to hit them.
One time I did though. I had a bully that was it was like 3 grades above me. I was in like probably first or second grade maybe, and there was like this 4th grader that would always pick on me, and my dad, I would tell him. So my dad came to school the next day, and like within 10 minutes, the entire playground, he's wrestling with all of them. He's playing with my bully, and the bully's like hanging on my dad, like on his shoulders, like, Dad, you're supposed to beat him up, not like, but it never had a problem with him again after that,
The kid would stop bullying after. But as we got older, honestly, the bullying, if it came from anybody, it'd come from the teachers. There's teachers that would assume that we're going to be rich, snobby kids. And, my dad made us bust our butts our whole lives, pulling fences on 137 acres with 50 head of cattle, black Angus. We were shoveling cow crap and working. We had to work for everything. He just didn't want us to be entitled, spoiled kids. So it was that was the fundamentals of everything in our lives. But it was teachers that pre-assumed that we're going to be snobby kids and just kind of rude you in class. Wouldn't let you borrow pencils and go buy your own, or something like that, rich boys and stuff like that. And we weren't even rich,
people would just assume things. And I remember always like, you don't understand it as a kid. And you're like, when a teacher would find out, I noticed it was like maybe 5th grade, I had a teacher that it was like some kid who'd been to our house the previous weekend was like, hey, Ross's dad was a wrestler. And he's like, oh, really? And then they said, and he was like, told him who it was, and the teacher was like, no, that's impossible. No, that's not true. And they're like, yeah. And then finally, something happened. Like my dad came to school to pick me up one day, and from that point on, like she would just not talk to me, and it's kind of out. Like, if something was like 5 minutes off, we're not putting my name in a spot, like on a paper. There's little stuff like that, but
then Dad would always give you just a curveball of an answer. You don't know what they're going through. I've told you this, Jerry, but Dad, since Dad's been through a lot of death and turmoil and all that stuff, he says, death can do 2 things to a man. It can harden you towards the world and towards other people, or it can soften you up and make you compassionate towards people who are suffering. And that's definitely. It's like almost the more unlovable a person is, the more they kind of need to be loved. There's always a root to why they're acting the way they are, or why they're bitter, why they're pissy or whatever. And I think that's been one of the most valuable things that Dad's kind of gave to us is about it's not burning bridges with people.
Yeah. The first step is just to try to relate to where they're at rather than just be reactionary and be like, hey, that pissed me off. Like,
Yeah.
you know, or whatever.
You did me wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think more often than not, people always want to talk about your dad, right? But what about Pam? What about your mom? I mean, because I think your mom's an amazing lady. She was so good to me while I was there. Like, why don't you guys talk about her for a minute? Because I think that's often lost in wrestling.
Honestly, my mom, she's great, but she can't do any like claw slams. She's
a lousy wrestler,
terrible wrestler, and I don't know, terrible workout.
No, she's like, golly.
Mom's a rock of this family, man. She's the glue.
Yeah, classic mom. Anytime you have friends over, you boys want sandwiches? Coming with a plate and an apron on and stuff.
It was crazy.
One of those, like the classic, what you think of, the mom duties would be, and just super would talk. You could pour out your heart to her about anything, tell her about your day.
My mom went to the bathroom one time. We were at a sushi restaurant. She was in the bathroom for like an hour and 30 minutes. Like, where is she? And then I was like 12, and I opened the girls' bathroom door to see if my mom was in there. She's sitting with like 3 other girls, all holding hands and crying and like praying and stuff. And like some girls went through like a divorce, and my mom was there like encouraging her and stuff. And I was just like,
oh yeah, we were at Costco looking for water hoses one day, and then she asked the guy where it was, and 3 hours later, the guy's like pouring out his heart to her. Like, she had a way of getting
the baddest dudes too.
Yeah, like with tattoos all over and stuff, and she's just really like, oh, tell me, sweetie, blah, blah, calls everybody sweetie.
Yeah.
And so it just makes them feel comfortable. And
my dad said she did it with this Toys for Tots with Hell's Angels. There's Hell's Angels there and stuff. And one of this big, mean-looking dude was there. And my mom started talking to him. And he just, like, opened up and, like, poured his heart to her. And he's like, not having a dad really affected my upbringing. And mom was just, like, there. My mom has a crazy story, too, a lot of people don't know about. It's kind of a messed up upbringing. And my dad almost felt like he had to save her because she was
she grew up in a bad situation.
Yeah, she grew up in a bad situation, and he was a lot younger than her, and he didn't know why he wanted to protect her. Not a lot younger, like 5 or 6 years, but when she
was younger than him.
Yeah, she was younger than him, and so his brothers, my Uncle Kerry, Uncle Dave, like they would almost like take care of her while my dad was in college and wrestling and stuff. And then when she graduated, he came and told her, he's like, I want to marry you. And they've been together. They've known each other since they were like 13 or something crazy. But my Uncle Dave was really close to my mom. My Uncle Kerry and my mom were like best friends.
They're in the same class growing up. And so they were great friends. She was great friends with all my dad and his brothers growing up, and so
my Uncle Mike would pretend that my mom was his girlfriend in high school, and they would go.
They're like, hey, would you pretend to be my girlfriend in front of my friends? He's like, okay,
He said he's sitting in his car and he's way smaller than her, and he's like this. He'd drive around. My mom was way bigger than him.
I think that's all great, man. I think just oftentimes like Pam's lost in the mix. Like people don't ask about Pam. They want to know all these Kevin stories, but they don't.
We actually have a podcast too. If you want to get to know her a little more.
Oh, really? Yeah. Man, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mark has a question for you guys. Is there any chance that you guys are going to return to wrestle for World Class Pro Wrestling in Texas once they get going again in the fall?
Let us know when it gets going.
World Class is always
the home of the Pioneer.
Definitely.
That's where everything
started.
Yeah. Jerry's the first guy to take a chance on these airheads right here, and so we'll owe it back to you, Jerry.
Yeah, I don't know if you could argue that if Jerry wouldn't have taken a chance on us, our careers would have played out a whole lot of different ways.
Yeah.
And he really did, flying us out almost every week. It seemed like from Hawaii, which is unheard of. What a promoter would do that. Not only that, but just the relationship we had and like the encouragement and everything that he offered. It was just so needed at that time. And here we are. And huge part to Jerry.
Yeah.
So yeah, World Class definitely.
Oh man. Where you at, Hannibal? Ask something.
Sorry. Another phone.
I think we lost them again, or now they're just. I think they must have clicked audio.
Okay, we're back. Can you guys see us?
Just your audio. I think you may have accidentally turned the video off. Let's try this again. Can you hear me at least? we may have temporarily lost them.
Ooh,
Do you
man,
want to
that's
talk
good.
about while we're waiting for them, the Wichita, Kansas event coming up while we're waiting for them to get back up? October 3rd, we know Shane Douglas is going to be there. Stefan Bonner, Jacob Fatu, the Blood Hunter, many
Fuego del
superstars to
Sol.
be announced.
There's a,
Rodney
Wichita,
Mack, I think.
Yeah, Rodney Mack, Moonshine Mantell. That Wichita is one of my favorite towns. In fact, I can't remember. I think it was Marshall's birthday. We actually celebrated one of Marshall's birthdays at the Cotillion one year.
I don't know if they can hear us or not. Marshall, could you hear us? Oh, there they are.
Well, there they went.
We're back.
There we go.
Sorry about that.
Was it your birthday we celebrated at the Cotillion one year in Wichita?
Yeah, no.
I know you had a surprise birthday. You brought a cake to me in the middle of the ring after a match.
That was in Dallas, and then the same thing. And
then you did the same thing for Marshall. I think it was at the Cotillion there.
Cotillion, your birthday cake and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, what a cool venue that place is too, right?
Oh man, one of my favorite venues we've ever been
in. Between the both of us, we had like 4 birthdays in a world class, like on a show day.
Yeah. And going back to you guys coming back, like that means a lot to me on a business and a personal level. It's hard sometimes, whenever you guys signed, of course, I was really happy for you because I know it's a bigger platform, but it's tough sometimes because I don't know that it ever really crossed my mind. I mean, I knew you guys would move on, but I guess I never really thought about it. And, every time I think of us carrying that name, it always comes back to you guys and your dad. I mean, do you remember the conversation we had whenever we came up with the name change? Because it was you that came up with it. Remember that? And I was like, oh man, I don't know about that, man. We got to ask your dad. Like, I don't know about that.
Oh yeah, I remember. That was an exciting day. And then wasn't it the next show was Arkansas, right?
Yeah. That was our first TV taping, remember? And one of my favorite things that we did together too. Remember that first TV promo that you guys cut? It took like 20 takes, remember? I don't remember how many it took. And then I was sitting there watching it, and I was like, I'm just going to come in and and surprise them and just close it for them. Do you remember that promo?
Yeah. I remember. Yeah, totally.
Because you guys didn't even know I was coming. I just seen you guys struggling, and I was like, all right, I'm going to let them come in, and then I'm just going to swoop in behind them, put my hands around you guys, and we're going to kill it.
Yeah, that's what we needed. And that's too, like MLW has been helpful as far as that goes. Because, before all this, Japan, we didn't have very much, TV experience. We were wrestling on TV, but we weren't shooting promos or anything. It was strictly wrestling. And so that was like a new curve we had to go past. And, I was, like I've said before, like public speaking was like the biggest fear of mine in the world. And you kind of threw me into that when we went over to those schools, and we walked into basically a freaking pep rally, like already fully packed of high school kids of all people. And here's a microphone. And I guess you did the elementary and the middle school. So yeah, you started off and you said, "Here, boys," and I was like, "Okay, my nightmares, it's real now." But it went away. And it eventually felt all right after.
I think that's one of the most special things that we did together was go to those schools and talk to kids, and you guys killed it. We had such a good time in Detroit, and those kids loved us.
Every kid we talked to came to the show. It felt like.
Yeah, I know a lot of the kids from that show still reach out. Are you guys coming back to Detroit, Texas, anytime soon? And
I think there was more people at that show than there was in the actual town.
No, there was a ton of people.
There was like literally, I think it was a really tiny town, and I was like, it was packed.
I wish promotions would target more kid shows, because kid shows are always so hot, and arm drag gets a huge pop. They
just want to see the bad guy get his ass kicked.
There's a big difference.
Good for people. That's what I want.
There's a big difference between doing shows for families and doing like shows for wrestling fans. I think oftentimes workers don't understand the difference but I know that you guys did, because you make that genuine connection. Again, it goes back to the connection. And I still remember the end of that show. I remember we couldn't get out of there for I don't know how long because that merch line was so long for you guys. It was insane in that town. Do you guys remember that?
It was humbling, man. It was just trippy to us, and it was crazy because that being that little country town, you're like, how's anybody going to come here and be at this show? But when I heard the first match go, and I believe it was Fuego del Sol and somebody else, I heard them going at it. I was like, it sounded so hot and loud. The whole building was shaking.
Yeah, wrestling sounds so right when there's kids in the crowd. Because a lot of times nowadays you got the 40-year-old male dominated.
But which is cool. It's still a crowd, and that's usually who our relationships are with the fans. But there's something different about that. When those kid crowds, when you hear them scream, it hits a different octave that you're not used to hearing.
Wendell has a question for you. Why aren't you guys in WWE? Obviously, you're under contract to MLW, where you can do some outside bookings, but it seems like you guys would be a big asset to them with your last name, and you have the look, and you guys are very good wrestlers. So, any contact with them?
Okay, I'm sorry, it broke out a little bit on that.
Oh, sorry.
Was it why aren't we going to WWE?
Has there been any talk? Because you seem like you would be the ideal candidate of someone that they would want to throw some money at to sign. But are you guys just happy doing your own thing and being in MLW, which allows you more options? Or
that's exactly it, man. It's pretty much that we were reached out to for an NXT tryout, and it both just wasn't.
It just didn't sit right. There's not really. It's hard to explain. You just when you have that feeling, like this kind of unsettled feeling, and
we felt just like we're ready yet either. Like we just we've been wrestling for 6 or 7 years, and we were just we want to if we go to a company like that, we want to give them our best, and we didn't feel like we were at our best, and wanting us to move to Florida and stuff, and for my dad's story, family is important to us. And my dad said that you get one family and you don't get members back, and so while my dad's in his latter days, while he's 60 65 now, we like what we're doing. We like being able to stay in Hawaii, come to his house on the weekdays, hang out, laugh, sell sheep, jump off waterfalls. This time's important to my dad. Yeah, it's important to my dad. But remember when we came back? Yeah, I know. Yeah, they're just banned behind me. There's a ton of sheep right now. Yeah, but
I think one important thing to say about that, and you said it a little bit. You touched on the family part. I think sometimes it's very easy for those of us in wrestling to worship wrestling like a false idol. And I think it's easy to get lost in wrestling. It's easy to get lost in all the things that come along with it. And I think that, once again, it goes back to the testimony of what kind of guys you are, that you could have went to WWE. You could have already been, but you chose your family instead. And I think, in life, your priorities need to be a certain way. And wrestling should not be your top priority. And that's just the truth. I love wrestling as much as you guys, as much as anybody. But your priorities have to be, they have to be right. And I think when your priorities are right, more things come to you.
You got it exactly right. And
100%.
We tried like I was saying before, we tried the being famous and becoming the most famous wrestlers. We tried it, and every time we felt like we got some momentum, it would crash. And and so when I was finding my identity in wrestling, I was honestly the most miserable in my life, mentally, spiritually, and so that's why my dad's done a lot of searching. He's a man that's lost everything, and he's had everything taken away, and he's had the world. He's seen it come and go, and from his searching, he became a Christian, but we had to learn for ourselves. We had to find out for ourselves, and it was only through experiences. There's a story of us. It's kind of what changed my life as far as wrestling. So we're questioning. We're in Japan, and we were like 0-70 at the time, and we're like, man, I don't know if we're are we supposed to be doing this? Are we forcing this to happen? And so we got every show we got to in Japan, we'd go sneak on the roof and just get away from everybody. We're both kind of like socially shy. We just want to get away from people. And then when we get in the ring, we'll go all out. But we got on the roof and we said a little prayer, like, is this what we're supposed to do? We're wasting time. Am I supposed to be doing something else? Are we just embarrassing the family? What are we supposed to do? And so we wrestled, had our match. After the match, came back up to the roof, and we were thinking we probably might never be at this building again. It was in the middle of Japan, in the middle of nowhere. I'm pretty sure. I keep thinking it was Kirk and Hall. I wish I could remember the stupid building, but we got on the other one's shoulders and we marked Marshall Ross, the date 2012 or something, and did like a little alligator or a shark or an alligator. But then we're sitting there talking, and we looked a super faded, like scratched,
probably like 4 feet over from where we just were, like we're scraping this into this brick wall.
And we saw the signature, Kevin Dave, 82 something, and it was like we were just praying about, are we supposed to be doing this? Are we supposed to be wrestling? And they're in this middle of this town where I have no idea where I'm at, and that my family, there's a marking of my dad and my uncle right here. They've been exactly where I'm at. They were exactly my age at that time.
And his first name is Kevin. My first name is David.
We're Kevin and David. And so when we saw that, it was just such the heaviest confirmation that you're supposed to be exactly here right now. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Those names right there were just like, it just tripped us out. It was like, I was like, God saying, this is where you're supposed to be. And that's honestly was my testimony. Because before that, I was just, there's a God up there and all this. But that was the first time I saw something that was like right in front of me. Yeah, tangible. And we held on to that hope for the rest of our careers. And it didn't get easy after that. It got hard, really hard. But that confirmation was to stay on the path, keep walking, keep going. There's light at the end of the tunnel. We've wrestled for almost 9-10 years, and only now, not only now, but it's if we looked at it as like a success or a money thing, then whatever. But we in our heads, we're already successful and rich. We're making relationships with people. That these kids at these shows, like that impacts me heavier than anybody. This little boy told me his dad just passed away, and he's at a show, and I hugged him. He started crying, and I was like, "This is what I'm here for. This is what it's all about." And so but if we wouldn't have saw that marking, we probably would have stopped and gone into something else, and we tried other things, but they all failed. He owned a Mac nut business. We did a shipping business. We tried a ton of crap, but a lot of it failed. It's like two wrestlers trying to do it though.
Yeah. We know we're meant to be wrestlers.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
How was working with Harley Race during the time you were going to NOAH? Because I noticed you were also doing shows with him, and he's such a legendary figure in wrestling.
Oh man, Harley was just a hardcore legend. And I remember seeing him for the first time with my dad, and seeing my dad just like, when your dad's a wrestler and he's not around other wrestlers, you just wonder, like, man, my dad's kind of just different, kind of weird.
When you compare him to your friend's parents or dad, it doesn't work.
Yeah, like how come he's the only dad wearing Speedos, jumping in waterfalls and stuff and ponds and catching snakes.
He'll come to your football games wearing no shoes. I'm like, sir, you need shoes. But
Exactly. And then I remember he was wearing short shorts like 20 years ago. We're like, Dad, man, why are you wearing short shorts? Like, he said, it'll come back. Just watch. I'm gonna be cool. I'm gonna be the trendsetter in a couple years. And shorts are cool. He was right about that. Yeah. But it's Harley. When him and Harley saw each other, they lit up. And I remember thinking Harley was a legend. He really was a legend, and he was such a legend in Missouri too, or St. Louis. And I remember he said, "You think you got a strong grip?" And I was like, "I don't want to toot my own horn, but yeah, I got a pretty strong grip." And he said, "Shake my hand." And I shook his hand. And I was in the passenger seat of a car, and he was on freaking crutches, and he pulled me out of the car with by a handshake. He like He like pressed some pressure point in my like wrist, pulled me all the way out of the car. My dad was laughing and stuff. I was like, "Dad, you gonna kick his ass?" I was all scared and stuff. Yeah, but I was 18, so yeah, I couldn't believe his strength.
Yeah, definitely. That was,
How was pro wrestling, Noah, for you guys overall going over there to Japan? It's obviously a lot different than, I don't know if you were in Hawaii by then or not, but the culture would have been a bit of a culture shock, I imagine.
Yeah, man, it was
definitely a big culture shock.
a huge culture shock. I think Hawaii might have warmed us up a little bit to it though, because of there's a lot of Japanese and stuff over here, but yeah, extreme culture shock. But I'm glad my dad kind of threw us to the wolves in a little bit, because in Japan you'd think they will treat you better if you're a third generation wrestler. Nah, they're harder on you. They try to wean out any quit. If the quit's in you, they want to find out and get it out. And we didn't realize what an honor and how privileged we were to be in Japan. And those guys, Morifuji, Ogawa, Kobashi-san, all these guys poured so much into us and pounded the fundamentals in us to get us to get us where we're at. And it was now I thank my dad, but at that time it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. Our phones didn't work. We couldn't talk to family for 3 months. Came home for like 2 weeks. I didn't want to go back so bad, and we had to go back another 3 months. I just had a girlfriend, and I was in the puppy love stage. Luckily, I married her, but I was in the puppy love stage at the time, so it was rough on me. But Ross, believe it or not, I was the second 3 months, and I was like, dude, I'm just so homesick, it hurts. Do you feel like this? And at the time, Ross just got done playing football and had some other stuff happen in his life, and he's like, dude, this is what if I quit on this came to us. I don't want to quit on this, and I think we should just press through and keep going. And because he didn't want to quit, and I was the younger brother, I was like, I'm not going to quit on him. And so we stayed there, and I'm glad we stayed there. We stayed there, and it was hard, but it was the best decision we've ever made, I think, in wrestling, is staying there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what would have came in you guys' career if you would have left. I don't know that you guys would have stayed. I think you're right when it comes to that.
Yeah, if we would have left, we'd have just been the guys that Japan was too hard for us. The Von Erich boys are soft. They left Japan. It was too hard on them. But there's some wrestlers out there that I feel like really deserve to go to Japan. They're like made for it. And Hannibal being one of them. I feel like a guy like that would blow up in Japan. He was just good, snug, solid wrestling, and I feel like he would just exceed over there. Simon Gotch, another guy I think would do well. And his style in Japan, that he has that more like that shoot style or whatever. But there's a lot of guys that want to get there really bad. And when I realized how hard it was to get there and how we just got brought over, I realized what a awesome thing we had. It was right after we stopped going, and then we got invited back, and we were just absorbing everything, taking pictures. Before it was just like 50 more days, and then we go home. 60 more days. It's actually 90, I think. Yeah.
Well, I'll wind it down here soon, but I had another question. I heard a story from former CCW producer Mickey Grant about Kevin getting his foot sliced with a blade in the ring. And I was wondering, Marshall, if you ever got your foot injured wrestling barefoot.
Believe it or not, I haven't had any bad injuries. I have disgusting feet, though. Like hooves. I have hooves. I got hooves. And one time I stepped on a cigarette butt, and I've stepped on cigarette butts before on outdoor shows, and my calluses are so thick, it takes me about like 15 seconds to like register or feel it. But there was this one time, it was, I don't know if it was kind of a bad scenario, but I'm pretty sure I stepped on a cigarette butt because my foot was burning. And I looked, and then I guess there was a thumbtack. I guess there was a hardcore match before that, but I stepped on a thumbtack and a cigarette butt at the same time. And
two for one.
Yeah, 2 for 1. But I think that was honestly my best, my worst foot injury. I haven't had. Wait, no, I did. I had a bad foot injury.
What's that?
One time we're wrestling in Oahu, and they forgot.
Oh, yeah.
They were missing the pad in the ring. It was just the wood, and there was a big empty section in the very middle of the ring. and I did a big moonsault, and my foot hit the wood really hard. And Ross thought I was just being a sissy and kind of was playing it off. I couldn't walk. I'd used an old lady walker all the way through the airport.
Yeah, we're walking back to our hotel after, and he's like limping. I was like, okay, I know your foot's hurt. You don't have to work me. Okay, like I got it.
Yeah, show's over.
But then the exact same injury happened to me
in Israel.
Yeah, in Israel, and it's from doing a drop kick and your toe like hitting the mat like and just jamming basically.
Jam like your foot.
And you're just totally immobile. It's the worst pain.
I talked so much crap to him though after that happened.
Yeah, no, I was wheeling myself around in like the office chair in the hotel.
The reason it was funny though is in that match, he didn't have his wrestling shoes, so he wore water shoes and then put kick pads over them. And while Ross was wrestling, my dad was like, "Dumbass, you wear water shoes." And he just laughed so hard. And they're ribbing me. He did a drop kick, and his shoe went completely on top of his foot. Like the bottom part of the shoe was on top of
like
his
turned
foot.
over upside down, like mashed. I was like, man, this is so not good right now.
I only wrestled barefoot one time, and I noticed when you get thrown outside the ring, that cement, when your heels hit, it like shoots, like the pain shoots right up your body. So I never wrestled without boots again. Do you just get used to that?
You know what's crazy is you guys remember whenever I came out there and stayed with you guys, I had too much stuff to take back, so I left my wrestling boots. And I ended up wrestling barefoot for I don't know how long.
Yeah.
That was
right.
that
No,
was
he's in the video. He's like, hey, I remember that. You're
Jerry Von Erich for a little while.
Oh my gosh, that was
Jerry Von Erich.
You know, I can't believe we never tagged together.
I mean, there was no way, guys. I'm not that good.
Trish wants to know, is there a way to send fan mail? Why not, as we get to the end here, you remind people how to listen to your podcast, where they can follow you on social media. I think your father has a podcast now as well.
While I'm thinking about it, is the date for MLW still coming back to Dallas? Is that still a good date? I think it's September the 11th. Is that right?
11th, yeah. The MLW's coming back to Dallas.
Yeah, guys, I think you can get those tickets on Eventbrite. So if you want to, is it the same place that it was the last time?
North Richland Hills, I believe, at the NITEC Center.
Yep, September 11th. So guys, don't miss that. And who knows? Maybe you guys can stay a day or come in a day early, and maybe we can figure something out.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Get together for sure.
I think with Little Jerry, Hannibal, Von Erichs, I think we're an unstoppable 8-man tag team. We'll do some 8-man.
I feel like you guys are issuing the challenge for us.
Yeah, let's start some beef with 4 other dudes right now.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot for doing this, guys. We really appreciate having you on for the very first World Class Pro Wrestling podcast. It's been nice to meet you finally after watching you guys for the past 5 or so years.
The same here, man. We've been watching you for a long time. Always wanted to meet you.
Yeah, honor to hear your voice and actually be talking, where you can hear us. So it's pretty cool. We see you on YouTube all the time.
I'm kind of marking out a little bit. You got a distinct voice, and so it's cool to hear. Like I'm talking to Hannibal right now. It's cool.
Yeah. Well, you guys are definitely going to meet him in person. It's inevitable.
Good.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. And then
thank you guys for doing this. It means so much to me. I mean, I don't even have like the right words really to explain, because really, there, like I said at the front, there really was no other guest to have, and I'm so thankful for our relationship and everything that we went through together, and all the things you guys did, not just for me, but everybody else in our locker room, and to all the people that came to our shows. It was much more than just wrestling. And,
yeah, man.
Dude, man, some of the best times in our life, man.
Yeah.
Definitely. Good.
Love you too, brother. The story's not over.
You're right there. Hey, one last thing. What do you guys have to say to all the fans out there that tuned in tonight? All the loyal fans. You guys have the best fans I've ever seen in wrestling. They're family. We love all you guys. Just the fact you stuck with us for this long, and our family. Brent Stein, I'm gonna have to think about you managing us. I got to think about it. Yeah, I think you might be a good heel manager. But he wants to change the name of your finisher.
We want to thank everybody. Oh yeah, he does.
Yeah, he wants to call it the clawtastrophe.
Brent, yeah. Clawtastrophe.
I like that actually.
Clawtastrophe. Okay. Now I'm listening. Good job, Brent.
But yeah, we love the fans, man, and honestly, just the support they've shown. It's just so far beyond what we deserve, and we're the only way we can repay that is just by busting our butts and just keep going. We appreciate that more than we can explain, honestly.
And we started this podcast so people can just get to know us a little better and here see what we're doing, see what we're up to. And so, yeah, if you want to check out our podcast at the Iron Claw Cast, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, and we're on all podcast platforms. We're our personal Twitters at Ross Von Erich, at Marshall Von Erich. We're on Instagram at Ram Von Erich, Ross and Marshall. But
special shout out
we have some special news.
Special shout out to Dennis. We didn't talk about Dennis once, and Dennis was such an important part of what we did together.
Yeah. Well, Dennis moved on from our podcast, and now he's started a band called Dennis and the Lake Rats. And so he's moving up.
He's moving up in the UFW area. Be on the lookout for Dennis and the Lake Rats.